Hello, and welcome to another episode of HYPERIZED. You're probably wondering why I'm here. I'm Galactic Artisan Customs. You've seen me before on HYPERIZED. Normally, we would have Paul here hosting the show. He couldn't make it today. He had a little bit of plans going on, stuff going on, preventing him from making it. But the show must go on. The people need HYPERIZED. I told him I want to make one happen. So here we are. I'm excited to do it. We've got a very special guest today. Let's go ahead and bring him out.
Hey, everybody, what's going down?
Oh, man. So welcome our guest, HYPERIZED, or Hyperdrive on HYPERIZED.
Man, this is a real treat. Thank you very much for agreeing to do this with me. You're going to be a far better host than me. I can tell already.
No.
First of all, you showed up to the interview with a tie, which is very good, which is a custom-made tie by your mother, right? Is that not the case?
Yeah. So I told her a couple days ago I need a special tie for a special event going on, and she delivered.
I love it. I might actually put a request in. I might. Does she take commission work? I like that.
Might.
All right. Nice.
Awesome.
So, anyways, yeah. Go ahead, man.
I'm excited to be doing this. You've done so many episodes where you have interviewed other customizers, and I thought that it would be cool to have one where we ask you the questions and find out a little bit about what you got going on.
I'm looking forward to that. Yeah. So far away.
All right. Well, to start it off, you've done so many customs, so many dioramas. How long have you been making them?
So I've been doing them since I was about 5 years old. And I was around for the original Star Wars figures back in the 70s. And immediately you were sort of forced to make your own play environments for them, right? So, it was something that I started out like, shoe boxes were always great. And I actually still love to do shoebox dioramas. Every couple of years, I'll grab an old shoebox and I'll make one. And they're just great because that's kind of like the original diorama for me when I was a kid. It was readily available and all the supplies were there, and you'd make the shoebox, and then you'd decorate the outside of the shoebox, and then you'd have this whole world inside. And this is the second time you and I have done this interview. The first one was done a little while ago, and it got shelved, and we were reintroducing this. And since the last time you and I spoke about it, I had completely forgotten about shoebox dioramas. And so, yeah, I wanted to make sure that I mentioned that as something that I used to do all the time, up until about maybe the age of 10. And then from 8 or 10, I started to move into like building dioramas with scraps of wood and things like that. Yeah.
Okay. Bringing it back to the roots though, with the shoebox dioramas, that's good memories right there.
Oh yeah. And I don't know if kids still have to do this, but back in the day when I was in school, you had to do book reports, like you'd have to do, write a report and do a little project about a book that was assigned to you or something like that. And I always loved them because it was really the only homework I ever really wanted to do, because I knew that I could do a diorama based upon the book that I was reading. And right. I remember when I was in about maybe third or fourth grade, we started reading The Hobbit. Nice. Maybe fifth grade. It was towards the end of it. So yeah, maybe about the age of 10, I would say. And I did like a Hobbit shoebox diorama, and it was so cool. And I realized then, somewhere around maybe 10, that you could do things far beyond a shoebox. And my dad being a carpenter, he would give me scraps of wood and stuff like that. And then I would kind of took it from there and started to develop my own techniques and things. Yeah.
Started evolving a little bit.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, do you have a favorite scale to work in? I see that you build a lot of different dioramas and a lot of different scales.
Yeah. So, I have built, Black Series style or Black Series scale dioramas, but I try to stay away from those because of space limitations. The Black Series are 6-inch figures, and as you can imagine, they take up far more room than a 4-inch scale or some other scale. So it's always a conservation of space for me. And I know you and I are similar in that, we build what we want and we get inspired by different pieces and they might be different scales, but we can't help ourselves. We have to build something to coordinate with whatever thing we just bought that fancies us. But I would say primarily I'm a 4-inch scale guy, like a classic 4-inch figure scale guy. But recently, I've gotten really into building at the micro galaxy squadron scale again because of reasons for space. But the techniques are all the same. It's really a question of if you want to whatever I do, I just scale it up to fit a bigger figure or scale it down to fit a micro one, and but all the techniques are the same essentially.
Okay, okay. See, I haven't worked in both of those scales. I've only worked in the 6-inch scale, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah,
I'm gonna
yeah.
have to try both of those. Let's see here. Do you have like any favorite tools that you like to use that maybe scale over between like the scales that you're working on, like favorite brushes, anything like that?
Yeah, well, first of all, so I do own a 3D printer. In fact, I'm getting a better 3D printer, but I really, really try to stay away from depending on it. Um, I know you and I have talked in the past about it. I mean, 3D printing is awesome, but there's nothing quite like wiping the glue off your hands and getting the paint mixed just right and doing it the way I love to do it. And there's nothing wrong with pressing a button on a 3D printer and having something come out perfectly. And I do incorporate most dioramas. I build a small little accent piece for the diorama that I'm building with my 3D printer. But I really try hard not to build the whole thing with the 3D printer. And so while a 3D printer is a tool that I have, it's sparingly used. And like I always have tried to explain it as like it's like the punter of my toolbox. Like in football, you don't really want to rely on the punter to win the game, right? Like you use the punter sparingly. And that's how I use the 3D printer, sparingly to make something as an accent but not to rely on it.
Okay, that I feel like
But
that's a good way to be. It's
but
more
but
Star Wars too if you're using the things that are around you the way that you do. So
that was the other thing I was going to say was the reality is the original Star Wars movies were made out of trash, right? Or model kits, and that's how it got to look that way. And
yeah,
so for me, it's very important to try to return to those building techniques because that's how you get that authentic Star Wars feel. But some of the products that I use, I'm a huge fan of making my own paper mache out of toilet paper, glue, splash of dish soap, maybe color it with a little bit of cheap paint, and that's my primary building material for many things. But of course, the foam, the pink insulation foam, I love. I use that. And then anything I can get my hands on, really, I mean, I think one of the things I try to do is I try to document when you've watched my build series, and I'll try to explain that none of this is expensive. None of this, I mean, I can build a whole diorama for about 10 to 15 bucks. And it's pretty good size, and there's a lot of fun things that you can do with your recycle bin. Recently, I'm building a Hoth diorama, which is a little bit different than most. And I built an ion cannon, that big ball turret thing that shoots down the Star Destroyer.
yeah, I
And I
love.
built it out. Yeah, it was a broken Christmas tree ornament. You
Yeah,
know, uh, but you'd be surprised at what you can do with it, right? So yeah.
that is an awesome series, by the way. I love how that's coming out, where that's
Oh,
going, and it is
thank
just
you. Yeah.
cool seeing what you used in that, and just how you've transformed them into something from Star Wars. It's crazy.
Well, I have to say that if I'm being completely honest, you and I spoke quite a bit over the last year about broken toys that our kids have, uh, recycle bin finds and things, and you are kind of a master at turning a broken item into something that looks exactly right for your build. And I've really kind of taken a second look at broken items around my house, which is how I got the Christmas tree ornament to be the ion cannon. So I really have you to thank for that to some degree because that was inspired by a conversation you and I had,
Well, thank you. That's cool to hear. It is, like I said, it's turned out awesome. I'm excited to see it done.
Oh yeah. The fun
um,
thing I was going to say the fun thing about that is you know, the it was a broken Christmas tree ornament, and then the bottom of it was like a red Soho cup that I put some details around, and really honestly, for like about 50 cents worth of materials, it looks pretty convincing, right? Like, I mean, it looks pretty convincing, and I just love the fact that that's exactly how they would have done it back in the old Lucasfilm days. Yeah.
yeah, it's so cool because you cannot tell that those are what you started with.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That's the whole fun of it, right? Yeah.
Yeah. And then you like you had mentioned, you got some paper mache in there. You got a little bit of everything. So the pink foam, which is like the base for any good diorama. So
Yep.
yeah,
And I think also too, like I said, I could have pressed a button and made an ion cannon. There's awesome prints for them. I've seen 3D printed ion cannons, but you don't have to do that, and not every kid or adult has the ability to do that. So why not just rob your recycle bin and make one for 50 cents instead? So
I'm
the
saying,
setup cost is very cheap. Yeah.
I'm saying.
Yeah.
So when you're working on a piece, how do you just like look at it and know like, hey, I'm done with this now? Is there just a feeling that you get, or like, how do you know you're done tinkering with it?
Well, Timbo Toys, Galactic Artists and Customs, Zilla, my good buddy Savage Land. We talk about this all the time. You and I have discussed this many times. You just have to walk away at some point, because otherwise you're just gilding the lily. Like, it's already a beautiful thing, right? And you're like, oh, I could do this to it. I could do that to it. And you could go on forever and never finish one. So essentially, what I do is I try to limit my. I know I'm done when I've hit a certain dollar point, right? So if economizing that way, if I say, look, I'm going to build this thing for $20, like I'm gonna have a $20 limit on this. Number one, it really forces you to be creative and find things that are broken or are repurposed, because $20 is tight these days, right?
Definitely.
But if you subscribe to what you and I do and all those other guys I mentioned do, $20 is like the Fort Knox of diorama building if you're using trash, because it's all free, right? And so that's what I like to do. So if I hit a dollar limit, if I'm at $20, I say, okay, I'm gonna wrap it up now because I don't want to spend 21. And that's when it's time to begin a new product. So that is really sort of where I start with, is the dollar value. And then the other thing that I do is I say, okay, what do I want to achieve in this? So, like, I've got, for instance, I'll use the Hoth one again. So I've achieved part one of a diorama, but without it's good on its own, but it doesn't tell the story I want to tell. So the story I want to tell is like this base that might not be Echo base, the main Hoth base. Maybe it's a smaller, maybe it's like the back entrance to Echo base. And so if it's something that I want to tell, I haven't gotten there yet with just the first part that I've done. So the dollar value is the first thing, and then the story that I want to express is the second part. And so if I use those two things and I've exhausted both of those things, then I know I'm done and it's time to move on. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I like seeing how everybody does it differently, and figures out, like, and it's like you said, you're never done. You can always look at a piece and be like, I want to add this or I want to add that. So
Right.
yeah, you got to walk away sometimes or you're never going to be done.
Yeah. Right.
um so how do you come up with the ideas of like your next project? Do you like see a scene in a show or a movie and you're like, yep, I need to build that? Or do you just like envision something up there and you're like, this is what I'm doing next? What's going on there?
Well, so I've been building dioramas for 40 something years, 40 years, 45 years, right? So I've done a lot of them and I've grown in my technique along the way. And I started my channel a couple of years ago with the intention of, I wanted to show people how to make dioramas in many different forms. So when I first started a couple years ago, I made these right angled display pieces, and I made a background for it, and then I put like a felt base along the bottom, and I made a very simple little thing. And my hope was that that is like phase one. This is how you can make a really cool display piece with scraps, with cardboard, with a piece of scrap wood, and with a little bit of glue, and with a page from a coloring book. And what I did was I took those activity books, those Star Wars activity books that have like reusable stickers on them and stuff like that, and they had these really cool colored pages that you could use to put the Star Wars stickers on them.
Right.
But they had elements like maybe there was a Tatooine looking building, and maybe there was a cool star background or something like that, and I would just cut them out and I would applicate them together and make my own scene out of these pictures,
Nice.
with the idea being I wanted to show people that you could take this coloring book or this activity book that costs $1, take elements from it, put it together, and make a cool, very basic display piece. And I think you've seen the ones I'm talking about, you know.
Yeah.
Um, but then phase two was, well, how do you make one for $5? How do you make one for $10? Here's what you can do. But I remember to really answer your question, I ordered some hot wings from our favorite place one day, and as we're eating the bones, one of my sons, he goes, you know, that kind of looks like a tauntaun. Like the chicken bones were like in a pile of a tauntaun. And I was like, you know what? It really does. So I took the chicken bones, I dried them out, I baked them in the oven until they became like brittle, and then I incorporated it into a hot wampa cave, and I put a layer of epoxy over them, and I bloodied them up, and they looked awesome. And I'm like, in the diorama, in the pictures, it's actual chicken wing bones that look like a dead tauntaun, you know. And so I'm never quite sure where I get inspiration from, but sometimes it's just as simple as somebody saying, oh, hey, you make dioramas, why don't you take these chicken bones and make a wampa cave out of it? And I'm like, challenge accepted, let's roll, you know. And that's really the fun. But for the series that I do, like right now, I'm trying to uh show people with the same, if you've watched. So I've taken paper mache and my technique, and what I've done was I made Geonosis, I made Tatooine, and I'm now doing Hoth. And the same ingredients can be three incredibly different looking environments. And that's kind of my point. I'm trying to bring people along to show that this could be Geonosis, Hoth, or Tatooine, depending on the paint color that you use, but all the techniques are the same. So what I'm done after the Hoth one, I'm then going to move into like Endor and do trees and forests and build on those ideas. And then from Endor, maybe we'll do another, like, the only thing I can think of right now would be like Star Killer Base or something like that. Maybe something from The Mandalorian where it's forested, and sort of explore the forest themes and the buildings and the characters that go along with those themes. So that's kind of my idea, is following through and showing people what can be done with the same ingredients. You know,
Yeah.
that's kind of my, yeah.
It's the same base ingredients there. It's just all how you season it. You can change what the outcome is. So that's pretty cool.
Exactly. So, and I remember I was jealous of you one day because you were asking me, this is maybe about a year ago, and you're like, how do you do that? How do you do those rocks? Remember that?
Like,
And you killed it. You took my, I was like, oh, here's how you do it, right? And then I was like, God damn, that looks better than mine. Damn it. This guy is killing me. You're killing me. I was like, fuck, you know, but and that's the whole point, right? Like that's the whole point, is whatever I do it better, right? Do it. I hope somebody watches it and like, oh, this guy, okay, but I want somebody to make it better. And that particular display that you did goes down in my memory as one of my favorites, because I'm like, oh, I helped inspire that, but he did it better than me, which is a really awesome thing to be able to say, you know.
that's
So
awesome, man. I really appreciate it, man. I
yeah.
think all of your work is awesome. So that's really cool to hear you say that.
Oh,
But
thank you. Yeah, yeah.
that is so cool. Um, So let's see here. Do you have any tips or like words of advice for someone that is like just getting into the hobby of customizing or like building dioramas?
Yeah, so don't be intimidated and think that you have to buy all these fancy, so many of the hobbyists on YouTube, they're sponsored by these companies that provide them with all of these incredible tools. And so you don't have to do that. You do not have to spend more than about $10. I would say you could, for $10, you could build an entire desktop of a diorama of your choosing if you're creative enough. So if you're a kid out there or if you're someone who wants to start building dioramas, don't be intimidated. Don't think you have to buy all this stuff. You need some glue, you need some toilet paper, you need some maybe a couple of pieces of um, tin foil, cheap paint from the dollar store, like and you can magically create things with $10 of things or less, you know. And I think that would be my biggest thing. Again, you don't need a 3D printer to get going. If you want to add one, you can later, but hone your skills first. You know, and not everything is going to be great. I mean, I've been doing this forever, and I look at it and I'm like, that doesn't look right. I can't do that.
Okay,
That's the
now we're
fun
gonna
of it
move
is
along the bottom.
doing it again until it's what you want, and until you're like, okay, now that's ready for camera. And again, uh, Savage Land and Zilla and you and Timbo Toys and so many others, you know, when it's ready for film. When it's ready. And it's not really about how much you spend on it. It's just, no, I this isn't the way I see it in my mind. And I think that that's the big thing is, you'll get better as you go along. You're never going to get it right the first time, but you're going to learn along the way and then take those wins and build on those wins, right? But you're going to learn more from the fails than you are from the wins. So everybody's going to get discouraged and you're like, oh, that doesn't look right. I'll never get it right. Keep doing it because you're going to get there, you know? That's what I would say, you know?
Yeah, I definitely like that. I mean, like you said, it's if you're constantly looking at your stuff saying, "Hey, I could do this better," that just means that you're improving if you're
Right.
gonna take anything from it, and that's awesome. So, uh,
Wouldn't you agree too that, um, I think you might agree that sometimes do it. And I think the way you do it is you're like, oh, this is Star Wars. This is G.I. Joe. This is whatever I'm making it. But it's not necessarily frame by frame accurate. It's more like the essence of Star Wars and the elements of Star Wars are there. But some people get so hung up on recreating an exact movie frame still of an image for a diorama. And I've done that. And that's fun. It can be fun to go, every single thing is exactly right in a particular movie still. But the way I like to work is I focus more on like, oh, this might have been just off camera. Like this might have been just, in the spirit of the scene. That's what I like to do. And that gives me a little bit more freedom and creativity.
right, that's more of the world building side of things, and I think that's so fun, and it's great for your creative side. It's just awesome. It's a good
Yeah.
time.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Do you have any current like projects that you're working on that you'd like to show or talk about? I know
So
you.
yeah, so
Uh,
yeah. Well, you and I are going to actually, we're going to actually collaborate later this year on something, which I'm excited about. So I'm really looking forward to that. We have to sit down and pick the, the world or the theme for that one, so stand by for that one. But, I'm right now finishing up the editing for the Hoth series. The Hoth one is done, and I will add pictures of it into this, so people, you don't have to watch the build series. You'll see pictures of it during this. But when the Hoth one is done, I have made a promise to someone that we're going to do Endor, and so I think most people would say, well, Endor, you're going to do the bunker, or Endor, you're going to do a forest floor scene. No, we're not doing that. Endor is going to be mid-level. You're going to be about 100 feet off the ground, and it's going to be the actual village. And so the diorama will be sort of There's going to be sort of negative space below it, like it's just trees and the little wooden walkway up to the village, and then there's going to be the tree tops above it with a star background. So, in other words, nobody really ever. There are so many dioramas of Jabba's palace and Endor and all these things, but and even the Ewok village. But the way I want to do the Ewok village is sort of isolate it and give it the appearance that it's somewhere off the ground as opposed to just something on a shelf, if that makes any sense. So that's going to be the challenge, is to how do I pull that effect off? How do I make it look like it's not on a shelf, sitting on a shelf, but it's actually in the trees, suspended by the trees themselves? I'm looking forward to trying that. And I don't know how I'm going to do it yet, but it's something I've never tried and I've always wanted to. So we're going to go with that.
That is really exciting sounding. I'm very intrigued by that. That sounds awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the Hoth diorama, like I said before, I've been watching that series. That is turning out great. I can't wait to see the final installment for that. So for anybody that hasn't checked it out, definitely when you're done watching this episode, go check that out.
The other thing too with the Ewok diorama, I think I'm going to do it in 6-inch scale. So it's going to be on the big side.
I like it.
I think I'm going to do it because people have been asking. I did one 6-inch build, and it was pretty popular. And then I did some smaller stuff, but it sounds like people want me to return to that. So I'm going to do a 6-inch friggin' huge ass Ewok village.
Nice.
I don't know where I'm going to put it, but I'll do it. I'll make for entertaining video. Yeah.
I'm even more excited about it.
Yeah.
Man, that's gonna be good times. Man, let's see here. So I think that's pretty much all the questions I have down here for you. I think you answered pretty much everything I have. Do you have anything else you want to add on before we wrap it up here?
Well, first of all, I want to thank you for agreeing to do this. This is really cool. And again, if you haven't checked out Galactic Artisan Customs, what's that?
Agreeing to it, I feel like I held you hostage to it. You didn't have a choice.
Oh, dude, no, this was fun. And my good buddy here, GAC, you got to check out his work. He's really something. And the fact that you've been doing it only for a little while is impressive because you are quite a builder. And especially some of your building work and the scale and the magnitude that you have created is amazing to me. And you're actually, so this guy here is redoing his entire city. Why? Because you don't like it, right? You just want to redo the whole thing, which is quite an undertaking. Yeah, man, that's impressive. So, but I would just finish in saying that, getting back to how do you start? If you enjoy collecting figures on any scale, if you enjoy collecting ships or painting or anything, give diorama building a try because it really enhances your hobby. And what you're going to find, and I think a lot of people who do this, you're not so worried about the latest greatest figures coming out. You're now using the things you already have and using clearance figures and making them your own and making your own worlds. And you're actually saving a lot of money that would otherwise go to these really overpriced, expensive things. And so, it's so much more rewarding to build it yourself and use what you already have in your collection and enjoy the things you already have without racing out and being the first guy to pre-order this and pre-order that. And I personally find much more enjoyment in building my own universe than being sort of held hostage to whatever the major companies have to offer.
I definitely agree with that. Like you said, it's just cool to look at a shelf of something that that you built. It's just cool and have it fit in and feel Star Wars and stuff, and it just makes you feel cool, feel good.
Yeah. And then for people who are interested, so the other half of my channel is GI Joe, and I promise after the Endor build, we're going hardcore into GI Joe. We're going to do a GI Joe diorama. I have yet to determine the subject. Maybe you can help me pick that. But I'm really looking forward to that one. The next two ones I'm really excited about because I'm going into uncharted territory for me with some of these ideas that I have. So
Cool, cool. Well, that is always exciting to hear.
Yeah.
Uncharted territories are great.
Yeah.
But well, to wrap it up here, I appreciate the opportunity you've given me here to interview you and flip things around here. It's been really fun to do that. I hope everyone enjoys seeing this and hearing your answers to all the questions here and finding out a little bit more about what you do. It's been a great time. Can't wait to do it again. And yeah, thanks for
Now
watching.
you're gonna provide the Etsy link to those ties, right? Because
Oh, yeah,
right. Okay.
yeah. Just put in the requests and I'll see what I can do.
Right. Right. All right. Excellent. So that is so dope, man. I love that.
Check it out.
I thought,
She even got the silk on the back and everything, and the little there's the
you
little.
know, oh yeah, the little thing, right? Exactly. Yeah, dude, you could absolutely. Are you going to a wedding or something today? Is that the plan? Is that
I am gonna go to her house for dinner, so I might have to
okay?
come on.
Right on. Yeah. Well, please tell her job well done, and that your old boy Hyper is kind of sniffing around. I want one of those. That's cool. So
I
yeah,
got you. I will pass the word along.
thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Please check out my man Galactic Artisan Customs channel. Check out mine if you're inclined. Let me know what you think about both of them. Check his out first. It's way better. And thank you.
Thanks for watching, everybody.
Peace out.